Do you remember back in primary school when a golden sticker was the ultimate prize for good behaviour? You followed the rules, did what the teacher asked, and in return you got rewarded. But what if we used the same system for criminals? Hey everyone, welcome back to Bear It in Mind. In this video we're diving into behaviour modification as a way of dealing with offenders, a system that sounds simple but has some serious controversies. If we get this right, we could cut reoffending rates and make society safer. But if we get it wrong, we might just be creating smarter criminals who know how to game the system. But before we dive in, if you're studying A-level Psychology and want further resources to help you, consider joining Bear It in Mind, where you'll find exam paper walkthroughs, fully written exemplar essays, revision worksheets, interactive quizzes, video tutorials, and much, much more to help you master psychology. Behaviour modification is an intervention based on behaviourist psychology, so think B.F. Skinner and operant conditioning. It aims to change undesirable behaviours, such as criminal behaviour, by reinforcing positive actions and discouraging negative ones. So how does it work? There are three key mechanisms. Number one, positive reinforcement. This is when something is added that strengthens a behaviour. This involves giving a reward when the desired behaviour is performed to encourage it being repeated. For example, prisoners might earn privileges like extra recreational time for following prison rules or attending rehabilitation programs. Number two, negative reinforcement. This is when something is taken away that strengthens a behaviour. This involves removing an unpleasant stimulus when good behaviour occurs so that the behaviour is repeated. For example, prisoners might have certain restrictions eased if they obey the rules. Thirdly, punishment. This is when an unpleasant consequence is given for bad behaviour so that the behaviour is weakened and less likely to be repeated. For example, a prisoner could lose certain privileges or be placed in isolation for rule breaking. One of the most widely used forms of behaviour modification in prisons takes this a step further by using a token economy system. A token economy is a structured reward system where prisoners earn tokens for good behaviour. These tokens can then be exchanged for tangible rewards like snacks, books, or phone calls, or privileges such as extra visits or more leisure time. One important aspect of a token economy is understanding primary and secondary reinforcers. Primary reinforcers are naturally rewarding and satisfy basic human needs such as food, water, or relief from discomfort. Secondary reinforcers have no inherent value but gain significance through association with primary reinforcers. In a prison setting, tokens in a token economy system act as secondary reinforcers because they can later be exchanged for desirable items, such as snacks or privileges, making them powerful motivators for behaviour change. And when you think back to your primary school days, as much as you loved that golden sticker, you weren't actually after the golden sticker, but what you could exchange it for at the end of the week, whether an extra snack or treat. Token economies provide two key benefits. It incentivizes good behaviour. Offenders are more likely to follow rules when they know there's something in it for them. And it reinforces the link between actions and consequences, helping offenders understand that positive behaviour leads to positive outcomes. Sounds great, right? But does it actually work? One of the most well-known studies on behaviour modification in prisons is Hobbs and Holt's 1976 research. They introduced a token economy system in a correctional facility for young male offenders aged 12 to 15. 125 boys in the prison were involved in the token economy system, and a separate control group did not receive this intervention. Over 14 weeks, the boys in the token economy system showed approximately a 33% increase in positive behaviours compared to the control group. The conclusion? Token economies can encourage positive behavioural changes in the short term. But here's the issue. What happens after they leave prison? While behaviour modification can improve prison behaviour, its long-term effectiveness is questionable. Good behaviour inside a structured prison system doesn't always translate to the real world, where there are no tokens or guaranteed rewards for following the law. Some critics argue that offenders learn to play the system just to earn rewards, but they don't actually change. Once the rewards disappear, so does their good behaviour. This means offenders may struggle to maintain positive behaviours after release. In other words, behaviour modification might not actually rehabilitate criminals, it might just delay reoffending. Another big issue with behaviour modification is ethics. Critics argue that it's manipulative, controlling behaviour through external rewards and punishments rather than helping offenders develop genuine motivation to change. Instead of making real choices, offenders are passive recipients of a system that controls them. This raises a huge question. Are we actually helping them change, or just making them more obedient for a short period? In our next video, we'll be exploring anger management programs in prisons. But how does behaviour modification compare? Firstly, behaviour modification programs are often tailored to individual offenders based on their specific needs and behaviour patterns. In contrast, as the name suggests, anger management programs are only suitable for crimes rooted in anger, making them less widely applicable. Secondly, they differ in motivation and commitment. Anger management programs require a high level of motivation from offenders. Participants must identify their own triggers, learn new coping skills, and actively practice these through role-playing situations. Behaviour modification, however, requires little to no internal motivation. Offenders comply simply because the system is done to them rather than requiring their engagement. Because of this, behaviour modification may be more broadly useful than anger management, as it applies to a wider range of offenders and doesn't rely on their willingness to change. However, without true internal transformation, is behaviour modification really an effective solution? Now that we've explored behaviour modification, what about those offenders who are ticking time bombs, just waiting to explode? Can we teach them to recognise their triggers and control their anger before they lash out? That's exactly what we're covering in our next video on anger management in prisons. Click on the video on the screen now, or check the link below to keep learning. And if you want more resources on psychology, be sure to check out the Bear It in Mind website. I hope you found this video helpful, and we'll see you in the next one.